All right, welcome everyone. This is Zenith Online Racing, EU Tier 1. We are at round 17, I believe, here at Russia. That's the Sochi Autodrome. Looks like we have some overcast conditions for qualifying today. Hopefully we get a dry race. We saw in Tier 1, I'm in the unique position of having either raced in or commentated on all three of the PlayStation tiers this week. So we saw in Tier 1 on Monday we had a wet qualifying session but a dry race. Dry for both sessions Thursday in Tier 2, and it looks like we've got cloudy but dry conditions here for our EU tier. Lots of safety cars, some interesting strategy things that we will discuss later, but for right now let's figure out who's going out on track first. And let's follow along with them. Looks like it's one of the Alfa Romeos. So we will go with whatever tire they have fitted. It looks like it's Heron who's rounding through Sector 2 ahead at the moment. So we will follow along board with him to get to know the track a little bit. If you're not familiar with this track, a lot of 90-degree corners making up the second and third sectors. A lot of your lap time around here comes from maximizing your use of the curbs and carrying as much speed as you can through those very 90-degree type corners. It is a track that produces not great racing in real life, but fantastic league racing in the game. We saw that both on Monday and Tuesday. High likelihood for safety cars. One stop, pretty easy to do here. The hards will pretty much go the whole race distance. The mediums will go comfortably for about 20 laps or so before they start to fall off badly. But we'll follow along with Heron. It looks like some people trying the mediums at least for kind of their first lap. But I would expect most people to try to qualify on the softs, kind of regardless of what happens in the race, because the one stop's pretty easy. But Heron opening up the DRS through the kink of Turn 1. This kind of as much of a corner as Turn 2 is at Austria. Turn 3, which is the first braking zone. Very easy to invalidate there on the left if you do not nail it correctly, and then he can actually be hugging a lot tighter line through there. You really want to be riding that yellow and white curb all the way to maximize to minimize the distance you're taking, and he invalidates there. So not a great start to his session. J. Cole, who is in, I believe, P2 at the moment in the championship standings, he is going to be someone who someone to watch in this Grand Prix, but he also invalidates. So let's find the next person on a flying lap. It looks like it is California, but he's on an out lap. Who's on a flyer right now? Looks like Fuzz is, so we'll follow along with Fuzz. He's in the middle of Sector 2. Very easy to invalidate there if you run too wide. And then your exit out of this right-hander, very important as you have a run down this DRS straight. This braking zone can be a good spot to overtake, but you got to pick your braking point just right. It's very hard to take two cars through that corner because of the way it curves right before braking, and then one of the hardest corners on the whole track right here, this floaty left-hander where all the downforce just gets stripped away. So much of your grip through that corner is relying on the tires. So in qualifying, it shouldn't be an issue for too many people, but in the race, that's a place where you can make mistakes. Fuzz is locked up a couple times on this lap, but he's the first one to set a lap, so he's going to go provisional pole, but only for a moment, as Zamaglis goes 7/10 faster into the 130s with a 130.9. So Fuzz, you held provisional pole there for about 3 seconds before it was snatched from you. But let's see what RC's doing right now. He's on his lap. A few people on out laps, a few people invalidated, but RC is looking pretty tidy through this difficult traction zone. Looks like he could have maximized his exit a little bit more, but looks good through there. Switch the car around, leaving it in fourth gear. That's a good idea to get to minimize that wheel spin and see how he's attacking the final two. Looks like we have a yellow flag in Sector 3. That might have just been one of the Red Bulls allowing someone through. And RC is going to run a 133.0. JX is also set a lap of 134.4. I imagine he's going to be looking to improve that. So is his teammate, who doesn't have a lap set right now, is Miami, our championship leader, goes P3 on the medium tires. So a very tidy lap from him. He is only 0.8 of a second off pole position. And the soft tires here are much, much faster than the mediums. The mediums and hards are fairly similar, but really the softs are the qualifying tires. So for Miami to already be P3 on the mediums has got to make him feel like he's in a very good spot for pole position. California now rounding the final corner. Let's see what his time. It's not going to be enough for provisional pole, but it is a pretty solid time of a 131.5. That puts him P2 currently, ahead of Fuzz, who's set at 31.6. Larkin has just invalidated his lap. It looks like Barton is getting set to cross the line for his first timed lap on the mediums. It looks like he might have invalidated one of his laps already. Runs a little bit wide on exit and goes P6. Zamoglis still holding on to provisional pole. Looks like Bag of Bones, his teammate, Barton's teammate, is going P3. We have an Alpha Tauri of Beck who's about to start a lap, so we'll keep an eye on him. Red Bull of Larkin coming into the pits. Hands coming out for another lap. J. Cole still in the pits. So kind of the first round of laps and kind of cider laps and everything have been completed now, and it is Zamoglis on provisional pole, but I have a feeling he might not stay there based off of the time we saw Miami produce and Barton as well on the medium tires. His time is 0.9 of a second behind Miami, but when he switches to those softs, they are quite quick, so he might be in a very good spot here. Beck looks like he's had a mistake coming around the final corner, so I'm not sure if that was preparing his lap or if that was finishing a lap. It looks like it must have been preparing a lap because he's got a full battery, so he might have just had an issue there. JXW looks like he is on another flying lap because he's 0.2 down on his time. So whether or not he chooses to dive into the pits is a little bit of a wobble. He's going to come into the pits, but he was 0.2 faster on this lap, so he's going to have some time to find as well. Don't think anyone is on a flying lap at the moment. Zamoglis is on an out lap. His teammate Jin just behind him. Just going to pull up the stream here real quick so we can see what comments could come in. Rain at the end of the race, says Fuzz. So that was going to throw a wrench into things, I'm sure, for a lot of these drivers. I would expect now everyone outside the top 10 would be going on to mediums or hards to start the race, and then just running until you need to box for inters. I guess it depends on how heavy the rain is going to get. But that's just going to shake things up a little bit. It looks like we should have a dry session for quali, albeit a bit overcast, but looks like Beck, let's see what he's doing. If he's come into the pit, so he didn't have enough for another lap. Heron is on a flyer, so let's follow along with him, and then we'll go and check on Zamoglis and Jin, who just started their laps as well. Hard to trust the purple sectors, but if it is true, Heron's just gone fastest through the middle sector. Looks pretty tidy through that tricky uphill left-right. Uses some good curb there on the exit. And he does go provisional pole by 0.3 of a second, so it looks like we could rely on those sector times for Heron's lap because he goes fastest. Let's see what Zamoglis is able to do. Zamoglis has found almost 0.2 through his about half of the lap so far. He's going to need to find a little bit more if he wants to reclaim provisional pole. We still have some really quick guys. J. Cole needs to set a lap on soft, so does Udema, so does Miami. So we still have some really, really fast drivers who still need to set competitive times on the soft tires, but Zimagla's pushing hard right now, and he goes purple through Sector 2, so once again, if we can believe those sectors, then he is in a good spot right now on his lap. He needs to find just about 3/10 to get ahead of Heron, and he was able to do it by about half a tenth, about 5/100ths of a second. He was able to get back on provisional pole. He's going to be quite happy with that lap, I imagine. Fuzz looks like he is on a cool-down lap, might have invalidated. Dylan has gone P3 with a 31.0, so that's a solid lap from him. J. Cole on the medium tires again. Not quite sure what his plan is for qualifying. Miami still in the pits, hasn't set a time on the soft tires. Jake's W on a lap as Larkin goes fastest. So Larkin sets a 1:30.501. That's provisional pole by 1/10 of a second. So a very competitive lap from him. Let's see if anybody can answer it. Looks like Zuidema, J. Cole, Miami, all still either in the pits or on mediums. So, yeah, interested to see what happens with that. But we're following along with Bag of Bones right now, who's on a flyer. He is slower through the first sector, so he's only a 1/100th of a second behind California, so he's going to be pushing to find some more time. He should have enough time if he completes this flying lap to still get around on his in-lap, but not if he invalidates as he did right then, so I would imagine he will dive into the pits here, put on a fresh set of tires, and go out right at the end of the session. So his teammate Barton rounding the penultimate corner currently on the medium tires, so he should definitely have time to get in. He goes faster by 7/10 of a second, but doesn't really move him up the grid much. We do see our championship leader Miami right now out on the medium tires for an outlap. We do see Beck on an outlap on medium tires. We see Zuidema still in the pits. We see Jekyll still in the pits. So the Williams saving it to the very end. Let's follow along with Miami and see what he's able to do. Looks like most of the rest of the top 10 in the pits preparing their final run at the end of the session. A little bit of a wobble there through the start of the third sector. He's actually coming into the pits, so something might not have felt right for Miami, or he just wants to wait that little bit longer. So interesting decision from him to dive into the pits, but we will see. Looks like JX is on a flying lap. Could be an in lap. RC is invalid, but 2/10 faster. Beck is on a flyer, so let's follow along with him. He doesn't have a time yet on mediums. I'm surprised to see so many guys still out on the medium tires. Maybe with rain coming late in the race, they want to start on those mediums and run until the rain hits. It's a bold strategy to try and pull that off. So, like I said, it depends on how heavy the rain is. Sometimes, especially in this year's game, the rain can hit, and if it's just light rain, the track never gets wet enough for intermediate tires. So if it's supposed to be heavy rain, the switch to inters can usually be made pretty reliably. But if it's just light rain at the end of the session, as Beck almost loses the car there, heading into the final corner, and his time is very slow, so he's going to have a difficult decision now. He's going to have to really push it if he wants to get back in and go out on another lap. Yeah, it's going to be really tight. So we do see Zuidema on an outlap. He's going for the mediums, so he's going to be essentially turning this into a one-shot quali and just trying to get those medium tires to start the race on. But as I was saying, it can be kind of a risky move to rely on the rain and the switch to inters, because what can happen is the track gets really slippery but never quite wet enough for the intermediate tires, so you just get kind of stuck in this position of being on dry tires that just aren't quite working. And if that happens, worn mediums and trying to figure out if you're pitting for softs or pitting for inters can be a really difficult spot to be. So maybe they know it's going to be heavy rain and they're confident of the switch or what, but we will have to see. We're following along with Zuidema now as some people are starting their outlaps. We have Larkin, who's our provisional pole sitter, on an outlap. Fuzz is on an outlap. J. Cole's on an outlap. Not sure. He's got medium tires fitted on his outlap, so both Williams opting for the mediums. So some interesting strategy coming into play before we even started. If that is a representative sector, then Zuidema is in a fantastic position. It shows purple through Sector 1. That would be fantastic if it was true. His teammate behind him is on the outlap, so he'll get a tow down the main straight, which will be very, very nice, I'm sure. Looks like Larkin has started his lap. Looks like Fuzz and California have started their laps. Miami is still in the pits, so Miami 5, our championship leader, still in the pits, not going to be coming out and setting another lap. And almost everybody else, though, except for Miami and Beck, is going to be on an outlap or on a flyer right now. And Zuidema should have enough time if he actually wants to take another run at it, and he's going to need to, as he has a huge wobble there in the third sector, almost losing the car. And he might have to give this one another shot, as he had a fantastic opening part of the lap, but fell off a bit towards the end. It looks like he is keeping the engine turned up and going on for another lap, so we will see what he's able to do. Fuzz looks like he is slowing down through the third sector, just kind of preparing himself for a final lap. Larkin is invalid, so he's doing the same thing, preparing for a final run. Dylan on an outlap, going to have to hustle to get around. Heron just starting his lap. Zamoglis just about to start his lap. So a lot of action up at the front of the field. We have a yellow flag in Sector 1. Looks like Jinnit might be going slowly through the horseshoe as Fuzz is retired, so I'm not sure what happened with Fuzz. Looks like he's in the pits, though, so hopefully no damage and no disrupting anybody else's laps. Looks like Jinnit might be out of fuel because he's continuing to go slowly around the track. There's a Hass-off at the beginning of Sector 2, probably letting some traffic through, but all kinds of things happening here at the end of quali. Larkin, let's see what his Sector 1 split is here in a few corners and see what he's been able to do to further cement his position in this session. He was a tenth and a half faster. Let's just see what Zamoglis is able to do as he's coming through Sector 2 now. Keeping an eye on both the Williams as they're entering their third sector. J. Cole, 2/10 faster. Should be enough for a couple of positions, and he goes P4, so wobble across the line. Zuidema's coming into the pits, so no time for Zuidema. Let's see what Larkin's doing as he's coming through the third sector now. Heron's invalidated his lap. Zamoglis looking to cross the line. He is not able to improve by enough to disrupt Larkin, so let's see what Larkin's able to do. He's down by a little bit, and he's going to go another 10th faster, but that's it. Dylan, who's a 10th and a half down, that's not going to be enough to knock off Larkin unless he finds a lot of time through this third sector, which he might. He's not going super wide there, maximizing the entry to the final corner, and he is going to go faster to bump J. Cole down to P5. And I believe that's our session, as Barton's in the pits, California's in the pits, everybody else sees the checkered flag, so Larkin holding on to pole position. A 1:30.402, so almost 2/10 ahead of Zamoglis, who's in P2. Heron in P3 with a very nice lap. He's a 10th behind Zamoglis, little less than a 10th. Dylan coming across in P4. That'll be a really nice spot for him to start the race. J. Cole, the highest of the medium runners, has to be very, very pleased with his position in P5. And we will look at the rest of the order in just a minute. So yeah, J. Cole, the highest of the medium runners in P5. Then you have Fuzz, California, JXW, and Bag of Bones, all on the soft tires. Outside the top 10, you will have then rounding out the top 10, you have Miami, our championship leader. Outside the top 10, who will have free choice of tires, and I imagine will go for fresh mediums in the race, is Barton, Zuidema, Jinnit, RC, and Beck. So we did see the risk of some of those drivers waiting to the end of the session to go out on the mediums. That worked out really well for J. Cole, as he was able to put together a lap when the track was at its fastest. Beck, we saw, just struggled through there. Essentially turns into one-shot quali, so you really have to maximize the lap, and it's high risk, high reward, and we saw both of those possibilities in this session. So as we are waiting for the drivers to make their final strategy decisions and figure out what tires they're going to be starting the race on, I do want to go through our standings real quick. We do have Miami 5, who is our championship leader, with a 20-point lead exactly over J. Cole, who's in P2. And we have Puppet Master, who is not racing tonight. He's holding on to a 1-point lead over Zamoglis, who is holding on to a 1-point lead over Zuidema, who is holding on to a 7-point lead ahead of Larkin. So a lot can change here in the final couple of races. The race for P3 and P2 in this championship is really, really tight. Looking down the rest of the field, you got some drivers like California, who are just one or two good results away from jumping into the top 10 and moving up quite a few positions. Same thing with Beck or Barton, JXW, California, all those drivers separated by just a few points. Adri is not racing today, but Adri and Dylan even on points, and they're just 3 points ahead of California. So really tight battles all up and down the standings here. But our championship leader, Miami, starting P10, is going to have some work to do if he wants to hold on to that position. Let's go ahead and see what tires everyone has fitted. As we expected, everyone outside the top 10 starting on mediums. I imagine they will try and run those until the rain comes, if it ever does. Don't know why my screen is still showing Zamoglis with the fastest lap, but can't get it to go away. Oh well. And hopefully it resets. But anyway, yeah, as we said, everybody outside the top 10 starting on mediums. I imagine for the drivers who are starting on the softs, they might be praying for a lap 1 safety car so they can come in and fit a set of mediums. We saw lots of safety cars, almost an exact repeat. It was odd between Tier 1 and Tier 2. We had safety cars right around lap 12 for each of them, and right with about 4 or 5 laps to go, around lap 23, 24 for each of those tiers as well. So be interested to see if we have the safety car repeat today. We are going to make sure we get the interval gap and the positions gained up on screen as well. And yeah, we'll get ready for what should be a pretty exciting run into the first braking zone of turn 2. As I said in quali, that kink right after the DRS is technically turn 1, but really the first real turn is turn 2, the first braking zone. So it's quite a long run, a lot of slipstream. We saw some pretty crazy things happening in each of the other tiers earlier this week as drivers were preparing for turn 1, turn 2. So yeah, not quite as deadly as Monza, but can be a very, very tricky corner lap 1. So I'm sure for the drivers like Miami and J. Cole, they're going to be wanting to keep their front wings clean and intact because they want to be able to maximize starting on those medium tires inside the top 10. So as we wait for the lights to come on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. It is lights out and away we go. It looks like Larkin gets a good start ahead of Zamaglis in P2. Heron gets a very nice start. He might be making a move around the outside of Zamaglis going into turn 1. Zamaglis, though, in the slipstream, he might pull out to the inside. Everybody keeping it clean through turn 1, but as we break for turn 2, it is Larkin in the lead. He's running very wide. He might get a track limits warning for that. We see front wing falling off behind, and we have a yellow flag as it looks like Fuzz and California have had it coming together. Both of those drivers still in the race, but it looks like somebody might have lost some front wing. We have Bag of Bones who's losing positions. We have Beck and Barton who are going side by side. Oh, it's going to be very close into Sector 3. Beck almost going into the back of Bag of Bones. He just has to back out of there. He's holding the inside line for this next right-hander. Lockups and lockups and lockups, and he just has to back out of that move. So he's very, very close to getting the position and moving inside the top 10. Miami and Zuidema have had amazing starts, each gaining 4 and 5 positions respectively into the top 10. And Miami might be making a move on his championship rival with J. Cole here as he's all over the back of him. Larkin comfortably out in front by about 6-7 tenths of a second. Heron in P3 holding on to a similar gap. It might not be the battle for the race lead, but it is the battle for the championship lead that we see right now between Miami and Zuidema in Miami and J. Cole in P6 and P5. Doesn't look like anyone is quite close enough to make a move yet. Miami is very close to the back of J. Cole, so J. Cole losing some positions. So I think he started P5, and I know we have the position slightly out of whack right now. It'll get sorted out hopefully when we cross through this next sector, but and there we go. Yeah, so J. Cole holding position, but Miami and Zuidema, as we have Bag of Bones who's out of the session. So, oh my goodness, it looks like coming out of Sector 1 into Sector 2, it looks like he just lost it. It's a very tricky exit there, and we have a virtual safety car. So for California and Fuzz who've pitted, they of course are going to be wishing that is a full safety car. It looks like Barton, the other racing point, is missing a front wing, so it might have been a coming together from those teammates that caused Bag of Bones to retire. We will have to wait and see. Barton will have to pit. He's got absolutely no front wing, and he's going to be struggling. He's struggling even to get back around. So just having a chance now to pause and catch my breath after what was a pretty busy lap 1 and start of lap 2. Kind of surprised to see no one who started on the softs diving into the pits there. That could have been a good opportunity to go to the mediums, but they must feel confident in their tires. So, speaking of which, let's get our tire information up here. DRS is enabled this lap, if you saw at the bottom of the screen. So for Zamaglis, he will be happy that he was able to keep that gap to Larkin within a second, because now with the assistance of DRS, he's going to be able to put that much more pressure on the Red Bull driver. Will he make a move? Right here, he's gaining. Doesn't look like he will. He's not. It doesn't look like from the onboard he's gaining enough. Might be sizing it up next time around though. So Larkin has a little bit of a wobble there. Looking down the field, JXW is doing a good job holding onto the back of that trio of J. Cole, Miami, and Zuidema. That's the exit. Looks like Larkin got a good exit there, and he needed to because this is a long run. And now Zamaglis might have to play defense from Heron behind, who had just set the fastest lap. And Heron, not quite enough. You have to think that if Zamaglis did not have DRS, he would have lost that position because Heron is flying at the moment. We're right on board with him for a moment as he's just within 2/10 of Zamaglis, so any sort of mistake for Zamaglis right now, and Heron is going to be pouncing all over and trying to gain P2 in this race. Dropped back a little bit. It was so difficult to follow closely through the second sector as Fuzz has picked up a time penalty, so not a great race for Fuzz yet. But don't count him out of it yet. Safety car, always possible. Rain can come through and shake things up as well, so I would not count a single driver out of this race yet. Looks like Barton in California and Fuzz are having a pretty good battle of their own back there. Battle for P12. We'll have to go and follow along with that in just a moment. But right now, we're on board with Heron as he's trying to find a way to get by Zamaglis as Larkin takes back the fastest lap. Heron sets his own fastest lap, but not enough. Let's check the telemetry. It looks like he is using a lot of his battery right now. Zamaglis is able to store a little bit, so this just goes to show how powerful the DRS can be around here, but Zamaglis might have to use a little bit more of it because he's about to fall out of that very, very valuable DRS. I think this is the corner where Bag of Bones had his mistake, and the sort of that green piece of track on the outside of the yellow and white curve, or sorry, excuse me, red and white curve, is not a very nice thing to try to accelerate on. So if you get one of your back wheels on that, it can send the car around pretty quickly. Might be what happened to Bag of Bones, I'm not sure. So Zamaglis has fallen out of DRS, and this means Heron is going to be trying to make a move here. He's going to go to the left. Zamaglis is not going to be fighting that too much. He might guess that Heron has used a lot of his battery, or he might just be trying to, or he might just know that he's going to get him back into the next straight. So he's being pretty conservative with his use of overtake at the moment. Heron must be really confident in his pace to go ahead and chase Larkin down. He's gapped Zamaglis already almost, as Zenith has picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. So let's leave that battle momentarily and look at the battle for what is the battle for P12 between California, Barton, and Fuzz. This trio racing really closely back here. Ooh, and Fuzz just struggles that little bit on traction. They're a very tricky part of the course. Using a lot of overtake, has a lot of battery, but looks like he's just kind of sitting in slipstream for right now. So Zamaglis has just gone around. Zamaglis has gone around. We just caught the helicopter camera for that right at the end. So Zamaglis gone around in the second sector. It didn't look like from the gaps that he was close enough to make contact. It looks like he just lost it coming out of there. So he it's going to damage his race as he's down in P10. We have JXW all over the back as we demo. What that does do is it just gives Larkin and Heron each that little bit of breathing room. We have gaps of right around. Oh, as Renault goes into the wall. Who was that? That was Miami. Miami's still in the race, but Miami going all over the track trying to get back, and he almost runs into, I believe that was RC. We have a full safety car Didn't see what led up to that incident, but Miami just absolutely losing the car, going all over the track, losing his front wing, coming into the pits, and from the way he looked like he was trying to straighten out, he might get a penalty for that, because he looked like he was maybe not rejoining as safely as he could have, but we will have to wait and review that after the race. For right now, he's going to be putting on a fresh set of medium tires, grabbing a new front wing, and that is going to hurt his chances at retaining his championship lead, as that's just going to make that 20-point gap that much more precarious, as now J. Cole is in P4 and on medium tires, won't have to pit for a while to come, and especially the safety car is going to allow him to extend the life of those medium tires another few laps. And there was a VSC earlier as well, so J. Cole's got to really be happy with his position, knowing that he can run really deep into this race now, and he's the first of those medium runners ahead of his teammate Zuidema. And the only other guys around him on the medium tires are Zenith, who's just boxed. That safety car actually works out really well for Zamaglis, because he was able to come in and pit and is going to be able to rejoin in P9. So it looks like somebody else is coming into the pits. Both of our leaders, Heron and Larkin, each coming into the pits, and so is Dylan. So all three of those soft runners coming into the pits, which is going to mean J. Cole, P1 at the moment, his teammate P2. That should, depending on where those drivers come out of the pits, the gap is pretty far back to Beck and Zamaglis. They should get out ahead of them. But like I said, that just makes life that much easier for Zamaglis, because the field's going to bunch up, and he's going to be able to get off those softs that might have been damaged from the heat of the spin. So it's a Williams 1-2 at the moment. Larkin is got to be feeling, Larkin, Heron, and Dylan all have to be feeling pretty good about their positions as well, because they were able to come out on fresh medium tires. And they are running 3, 4, and 5 at the moment. So they have to be feeling pretty good about their positions. JXW is going to be feeling very good about his position as well, as that gap was pretty large from Dylan to him, but not anymore thanks to the safety car. So he's going to be on fresh mediums as well. Zenith has put on the softs, so he must be thinking the softs give him the best chance at gaining the most no, he started outside the top 10, so he started on medium, so he would have had to go to either the softs or the hards. So he has gone for the softs, as has Beck, I think, for the same reason. And Zamaglis, who started on the front row, has gone for mediums. Interesting to see California, Fuzz, and Barton, none of them pit. You have to think, if you're Fuzz or Barton, it really doesn't hurt you to pit, and maybe for Barton especially, not lose any positions, and still maintain his, or if he doesn't lose any positions on track, get fresh tires. So interesting decisions. I'm going to take the safety car opportunity to check some of the comments. Yeah, Camden, Resha and safety car is the perfect duo. They strike again. This one was a little bit earlier though, not waiting until lap 12 like the other tiers. This one hit a little bit earlier. But yeah, we do see California coming into the pits, which makes sense. I mean, he's towards the back. He's going to lose 2 positions, but he's outside of the points anyway, and this gets him on fresh mediums, so it's a good decision. I imagine the safety car will be in this lap, so the other thing that does for California is he's going to be able to run this lap pretty much flat out, and keep a lot of heat in those medium tires where everyone else is going to be going slowly behind the safety car. So if California times it just right, he will arrive to the back of the queue right as everyone else is fighting desperately for tire temperature. And he's going to arrive with some nice, warm, fresh tires. So most drivers, except the two at the front, most of them have taken advantage of the safety car period and boxed. A lot of drivers going for the mediums, a couple having to go for the softs, but it's pretty much now the two things to be watching here as the safety car is likely coming in this lap, as we see race control confirm that at the bottom of your screen. The kind of the two things to watch, one is the battle between Larkin, Herron, and Dillon for what could be the final podium position. Another thing is to see what happens with the tire difference between Larkin, his competitors, and the two Williams who are on older mediums, and what happens with the rain when it comes, how bad it's going to rain, and how necessary might it be for drivers to switch to intermediate or full wet tires. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But for right now, all of these drivers focused on getting as much tire temperature as they can. J. Cole trying to figure out when he is going to lead them away. Looks like he's going now as he rounds the final corner. I would expect, yep, he's losing that overtake. I imagine he's got his fuel up as well and is trying desperately. Larkin has had a fantastic restart, but Herron is falling way behind, and Dillon might get him into turn 2. Dillon was not able to get him, but J. Cole looks like he's struggling a bit on the restart. His teammate's all over the back of him. And he's going to make a move up the inside. No, he thought better of it. A lock up there from J. Cole. Larkin all over the back of him. Those fresh tires are really working for the Red Bull. A very close battle up here at the front for P1. Looks like Jinnett is able to get by JXW, so the soft tires working for him. Larkin all over the back. Looks like they're making a little bit of contact, but the position is held. So this sort of battling is going to be music to J. Cole's ears, as he's almost been able to get this gap to a second. 7/10 now. Fighting to keep it a second. What is Larkin going to do? He's trying to go around the outside. It's going to be a really hard traction zone for each of these drivers. Side by side, and he leaves the space, but the traction is going to be better there. So Zwiedema just didn't have it. The fresher mediums just having that little bit of extra traction, which, as I said in quality, really is what's giving you the most grip there in Sector 3 is the tires. The downforce struggles because of the nature of those corners. So now Larkin can get his head down and work on closing that gap to J. Cole. Zwiedema's going to have a bit of a headache as a big train of cars behind him on fresh mediums and fresh soft tires. And Herron's at the head of that. Just about 0.2 of a second. Still looking pretty sunny, so if the rain does hit, I don't have a feeling it's going to hit for a little while. A little bit of a wobble there from J. Cole and from Harris. We've got some drivers behind looking like they might be sizing up an overtake. Really strong train. Miami was able to get by RC there. Miami's struggling a little bit. Championship leader lost his front wing earlier, which was what brought out the safety car. Let's see what Zenith's able to do. Is he's going to get very nice traction on those softs. He's using overtake. He's going to have DRS ahead of Dylan. Dylan also has it, but a great run on those soft tires, and he's going to try to go around the outside through turn 2. And he's got that move done pretty easily, as Dylan has a little bit of a lock up. Heron not able to do much to close the gap to Zudema, as Zudema, though, has not been able to hold on to the back of Larkin, who is sizing up a move now for the race lead. J. Cole does have a little bit more, Larkin does have a little bit more battery to play with. J. Cole, or Larkin probably won't know that J. Cole has been using a lot of his to try and stay ahead, but Larkin has to be loving the position he's in right now. I think the move has to be done here. The longer that Larkin waits, the more life's going to get taken out of his tires. The harder it's going to be to open up that gap, but J. Cole, with a very good job defensively braking, but he goes into the wall and he's out. J. Cole's out of the race. He goes into the wall there. What I was just saying was it was a great job braking. Very good defensive work from J. Cole braking there, and he outbroke himself, got onto the sort of less grippy part of the track there, and has gone into the wall. So just a VSC right now, but wow, our top two drivers in the driver standings, Miami and J. Cole, both struggling around Russia. So Larkin, as the safety car ends, as JXW has picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. That's a really, really tough penalty. It's, as I said earlier, I'm not going to count anybody out of this race because, well, there's just too much time left, and looks like Beck has also picked up a drive-through as well, so really tough for those guys. Yeah, it's really tough. It's so hard for that not to be a race ender. Zudema, just to remind us, still needs to make a pit stop. Everybody else in the field has made a stop. Looks like both of the Beck might be staying out for a yellow lap. Spartan picks up a time penalty. Nothing too close right now, except that Barton might be making a move on Fuzz. He's gaining, and he thought better of it. I think he might have had it without breaking there, but Fuzz struggling there on traction. He's going to try and go around the outside, so how brave is Barton going to be on the brakes here? Living to fight another day as he goes a little bit wide. Front wing coming off. It looks like that might be RC who's lost a front wing. Hard to tell from these angles. Let's see if we can get a different one. And it looks like he did maybe lose an end plate. So he's really struggling for pace at the moment. Fuzz all over the back of him. And looks like Barton has lost some wing as well because of it. So a little bit of a cascade effect, damage leading to more damage, front wing damage, as we have almost 3 wide down the back straight, 3 wide going into the braking zone. California outbreaks him. I'm sure he's going to have to give that penalty, or give that position back. He's got a 5-second penalty for corner cut. I'm sure that will be removed from the that position will not be gained from the stewards, as he looks like he had a pretty strong corner cut. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten an illegal overtake warning from the game. Yeah, it's very surprising there. From what I could see, it looks like California needs to give that position back, but I'm sure they will look at that after the race. Miami getting by Zamagas. He's not too far back from his teammate. Looking up, it looks like Zuidema has lost another position to Zenith, so Zenith really making the soft tires work. As I said in quali, the soft tires are the outright fastest tire, no surprise, but by quite a margin ahead of the mediums. Spartan has picked up a time penalty for multiple warnings. So we'll see. I'm still kind of surprised that California didn't get that position back. Yeah, like I said, that'll have to be something the stewards look at. From the angle we saw, it looks like he just cut the corner and gained 2 positions. I think he had a straight 5-second penalty, but normally if you do that sort of corner cut and gain a position, the game will force you to give it back. Barton and Fuzz going side by side all over the back of RC, who I don't think is pitted from his wing damage. As Beck has come into the pits. I believe he's serving his drive-through. Fuzz just not able to get by. Oh! And they almost make contact there on the exit of turn 2. Yellow flag in sector 1. It looks like Beck has gone into the wall. So unfortunate for him. Fuzz all over the back of RC, who I believe is still carrying wing damage. Goes out wide there, and RC stays in the race but loses 1 position. He's about to lose a second as Barton goes around the outside there. Barton leaving space, but RC not having the grip to hang with that, so tough race for him. Looking up the order, we do have some drivers going side by side here. It is Zuidema and Heron. Through most of sector 3 going side by side. Looks like Heron might have cut the corner a little bit as we see a few raindrops start to fall, so that might just throw things up a little bit there. Just neither driver blinking here. Zuidema is going to have the better grip there coming around the outside, but who's going to get DRS? It's Heron, so Heron's got to make this move now. Zuidema trying to stick in the slipstream, but as the rain's starting to fall, this might be just too big of an ask. It is Larkin leading out front, but Zenith is catching. Zenith carrying a time penalty, so I don't think, based off of the pace we've seen, that he's going to get by Larkin and build a 3-second gap. It's a tall order, but certainly getting by Barton or sticking with Larkin is going to give him the best chance of some solid points here, and maybe a podium. Miami was able to get by his teammate Dylan. Now he's sizing up Zuidema, who still hasn't pit. He's been on those medium tires. He qualified on them. Maybe he qualified outside the top 10, actually. I don't think he qualified on those tires. But anyway, he's been on those tires since the start of the Grand Prix, so they're going... Well, they're going to be past their prime, to say the least. And as the rain is starting to fall, the track losing grip, starting to get kind of slimy, kind of slippery, lowering mediums are going to be that much harder. So now, if you're Zuidema, you're holding your breath, because if it's, you're just praying that the track gets wet enough for inters or for full wets, because if it stays spinning like this, you're going to have to box for dry tires again, which is just going to send you down the field if everyone else is finishing on these tires. So here's Wiedema. You're holding your breath as Miami has a little bit of a moment there under traction. That might just give his teammate a thought that maybe he wants P5 instead. Looking down the rest of the field, some gaps really starting to open up as RC is taking the initiative and is going to go onto the inters, so we will watch his pace with great interest to see what happens. From what I can tell, just looking at the track through the onboards and everything, it does not nearly look wet enough for intermediate tires, but who knows? If it's set to be heavy rain in a couple minutes, then this might just be the perfect time. Yeah, who knows? But up front, Jinnit is going very close to the back of Larkin. I think Jin's tire advantage might just be out as we've got Beck retiring from the session. Not sure what happened, but so this gap from RC to JXW now looks like it's just gaining, but the safety car has come out. So the safety car has come out, and it looks like that might be for Beck. So now we are going to see what some of these drivers are going to do, and for Barton and for JXW, this might be the perfect time to switch to the inters if you think the track's going to get wet enough, and it looks like they do. Barton also needing to change her front wing, so another safety car, another chance to shake up the field. RC now, we'll see if he's going to get... I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in and gets a fresh set of intermediates, actually. Thought better of it, but it doesn't look like the track is wet enough for enters. From what I can see, of course I'm not driving the car, but it doesn't look like it's wet enough, so this is where if you're Wiedema, you have to be just praying that the rain gets heavy as Larkin spins. He keeps it out of the wall, but he loses the position to Jinnit. And it looks like his front wing is intact, but he spun going under the bridge there, and that could cost him. It has cost him a position and might cost him a race victory. Each of these drivers coming in, so I imagine it must be that the rain is set to get heavier. It must be, otherwise I would guess somebody, Miami might be that somebody, might be taking a risk and going on the mediums. RC unfortunately has picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. So that's unfortunate. Looks like Heron is coming into the pits, fitting some inters. Wiedema fitting inters. So it must be that the rain is set to go to heavy rain. Otherwise, I would have expected a couple people to maybe take the risk of staying out. California serving a penalty. Fuzz going on to intermediates and changing the front wing. So like I said at the beginning of the race, I wouldn't count Fuzz out here, as he's now going to have a chance to get some solid points. He's P9 at the moment. Penalties will start to come into this. Miami, his pit stop, if he chooses to, will come into this as well. And, you know, Fuzz could still get some points here. We'll see what Miami decides to do. Like I said, I mean, the rain looks like it's starting to pick up from what we saw a couple laps ago. When the rest of the field is on inters, that is probably a sign that Miami needs to come in and put them on as well. And he should be able to see on his screen that everybody behind him, at least through P5, as Miami has lost it under the safety car. He's gone into the back of the safety car, lost some front wing. He's going to have to pit now. He's going to have to pit and put on a new front wing, and that'll probably drop him to the back of the grid. So Zenith should take over the race lead here. After penalties, Larkin looks like he's in effectively the race lead. So I'm sure he's going to be boxing for inters. Let's see. Yep, it's like the mechanics have the green inters and a new front wing. Gonna put him at the back of the field though. It's gonna be very close at least. RC, I don't believe he can serve his drive-through penalty right now. I might be mistaken, but I believe the drive-thrus have to be served under green flag conditions, but he might just be putting on some fresh inters anyway. Since he's at the back, it's not going to hurt anything. Or he's putting on the full wets. Oh, so maybe the heavy rain indeed is going to come, or maybe RC just willing to take the risk, but yeah, it does look like certainly the last lap or two it's picked up. When the safety car came out, I was skeptical that the rain was going to be heavy enough, but it looks like it has been. We're going to have probably about 5 or 6 laps of green flag racing, depending on when the safety car comes in. But this many laps behind the safety car are hard for tire temperatures anyway, let alone when it's raining and you have inters on. Tires are going to be very, very cold for these drivers, I'm sure. Interesting to see. RC was the one who kind of blinked first and went to inters, and then, you know, maybe it's just, like I said, he's in a position where what has he got to lose, really, at the back of the field with the penalty? He may as well. Looks like we'll have one more lap. I believe it told us last time on the DRS straight. So looks like we'll have one more lap, which is going to be really nice for RC, as he's going to have plenty of time to get some nice heat into those wet tires, and everybody else needs another lap of furiously weaving and trying to figure out your fuel usage and how much extra fuel are you carrying. With 2 safety car periods, I don't see anybody with a fuel warning light. So I'm sure a lot of drivers trying to balance their fuel usage as well. So just kind of taking stock of this race so far, we had an interesting quali session where some of our fastest drivers opted to just take one run on the mediums because of this rain coming in the race. We had an early safety car. We had our championship leader losing his front wing. We had our second place driver in the championship retire from the race because he pulled a Carlos Sainz and crashed to turn 2, 3, I don't remember which corner it is exactly, but lost it under traction there. We had some aggressive calls on tires. We had some really good overtakes, and Now we're going to have a 5-lap shootout on the intermediate tires with the rain coming to see who's going to get to take home the victory today. Adri saying, go on Fuzz. Yeah, I mean, Fuzz was P15 after lap 1, and now he's on the back of some points, so he might be able to gain a few more positions here. It is going to be Jinnit who leads them away, though, and he struggles through the final corner. Larkin is by him already, so Jinnit, after leading under the safety car, he did not do a good enough job getting heat in those tires, because he's almost lost the car coming out of the final corner, which just gifts Larkin P1. Heron's comfortably in P2. So Jinnit, in the space of one corner, one mistaken restart, has lost 2 positions, and Zwiedem is all over the back of him now. The rain really coming down now. RC might be looking like a genius again, because now I'm thinking, wow, why wouldn't people go and put the wets on? It looks like it's just really coming down. Looks like the track is really gotten a lot more water on the track over the last few laps. So it's crazy how quickly things can change in this game, and this is an example of that. RC's gap to Miami, though, not really reflecting that sentiment that the wets might be the best tire. Don't know if that's don't know if he's stuck in overtake. I don't know if he has wing damage or something like that, but looks like he's missing an end plate, and looks like he's maybe has an issue with his battery, so tough for RC. Let's just check the penalty situation real quick. Everybody's on intermediates with the exception of RC on the wets, who is going to have a drive-through anyway. But Heron and Jinnit each with 3 seconds. Barton on 9, so that's might drop him out of the points. That might just give Fuzz, even though he has 3 seconds, that could move him back up into the points. So we'll just focus on the interval now. Lap times are not going to be as important either now that the track is wet, but oh, we have a yellow flag, and Jinnit's out of the session, so Jinnit crashing in the same spot where we lost Bag of Bones earlier in the race. And don't think we'll get another safety car or VSC, but that just... now that might give Dylan thoughts of a podium as well, if he can close that gap up to Heron. And Zamoglis, who, remember, was fighting for the lead at one point, dropped almost outside of the points and is now up in P5, so never give up in league racing. Absolutely battle every single lap and never know what's going to happen. Rain, safety cars, spins, retirements, penalties, all sorts of things. And yeah, it's been a very unpredictable race. In some ways, I mean, Larkin was on pole, and Heron, I believe, qualified P2. Zwiedem, we know the pace he has, so in some ways not surprising to see them fighting up at the front, but in other ways, some of the other things we've seen in this race have been very, very surprising. We have a nice train going down here towards the end of the points. From about P5, Zamoglis leading all the way down to P10, so all those drivers pretty much within a second of each other, so you have to think that anything, any penalties, any spins, any overtakes, any retirements there, Fuzz almost losing the back of the car there, just had to get out of the throttle and open up the steering to straighten the car out. You have to think any sort of 3-second penalty, any half spin under traction might cost you a couple of positions or might even drop you out of the points here. So. Right now, up at the front, Larkin looks like he is leading comfortably. That gap over 2 seconds. Don't think he is in any real danger of losing the lead. Heron, I believe, just has a 3-second time penalty. Yep, so he should, as it stands right now, still finish on the podium in P2. As Miami trying to go up the inside of Barton there, does a good job on the switchback. Barton still challenging around the outside. He's going to run wide, and he's just going to have to tuck in behind. But that actually is going to give Barton a really nice run down this main straight. Almost too good of a run. It looks like he had to back out of it a little bit early. But Heron now just trying to solidify P2 if he can build that gap out by 3 tenths. 8 tenths to be exact, with 9. A full second. It's going to be tough. As RC, and Heron has now picked up another 3-second time penalty. So that is really, really going to damage his race. Let's change the gap and see. That's going to put him probably down in P4. Yeah, so Dylan, if Demon picks up a penalty, Dylan might be sneaking onto the podium here. No, sorry, Dylan should be sneaking onto the podium just by hanging on to that gap. Fastest lap was set by Jinnit. Won't get a point for that as he's going to finish outside the top 10. I don't think anybody's going to beat the fastest lap in these conditions. Not when I believe he set that on soft tires, but... Ooh, struggling on grip day for California. Miami just sneaks right by him. JXW all over the back of Zamagas. Both of these drivers have had not the cleanest races ever, but both of them still fighting for P5. Up at the front, we demo all over the back of Heron. He should know from his display that his P2 is his. All he's got to do is avoid penalties, and he should be fine. Larkin leading with no problem, really. He might even catch the back of RC by the end of this lap. RC's pit for another set of wets after his drive-through, so he's... kudos to him for sticking with it, but it's been a tough race for him. Fuzz picking up a 3-second time penalty, so that, I think Barton has quite a few, so it shouldn't affect him too much, but... let's see if Miami's able to make any last lap overtakes here. I believe he's got 6 seconds now in time penalties. Oh, 9 seconds, so... overtake might not matter, but JXW and Zamagas might all be overtake for both of these drivers. Every last ounce of performance they're trying to squeeze from their cars, but just not enough. So we do have Larkin set to cross the line. Pole position leading, maybe not every lap, but certainly a lot of them. And it's going to be a win for Larkin. Heron's going to cross the line in P2. Should drop him to P4 after penalties. Dylan doing a great job of sticking with it in this race. Kept his nose clean, and he's going to finish on the podium. Oh no, just outside the podium, 3 tenths. Oh, Dylan, so close. Zimaglis did a great job after a spin earlier to recover and get P5. Fuzz did a great job after an lap 1 incident to come back and finish P9 and pick up a couple important points in this. Barton, P10, last of the points paying positions, and then RC. Tough race, but kudos to him for sticking with it and giving it his best. And yeah, it just wasn't his day, unfortunately, with the drive-through there really cost him. But for for Larkin, very good victory. Looked really comfortable from start to finish. Zuidema, I was a little bit nervous about his strategy and the rain coming at the end of the race, but it worked out really well, and he ended up P2 with this. Heron, despite his 6 seconds in penalties, just barely hanging on to a podium. Dylan will know how close he was, and yeah, that was gonna be tough to know that he was 3/10 away from a podium. So Margus, as I mentioned, a good job bouncing back from a tough spin. For the Haas team of JXW and California, some solid points for them as well. And yeah, very exciting race. A couple of safety cars again, as we've come to expect here in ZOR around Russia. And yeah, a very, very entertaining race. Get the full race results here in just a moment. It is Larkin with the victory. Zuidema going from P12 to P2, a fantastic race from him. Heron P3, Dylan P4, Zimaglis P5, JXW in P6, California in P7, just ahead of Miami in P8, Fuzz in P9, Barton rounding out the top 10, with RC being the final finisher. DNFs from Jinnit, Beck, J. Cole, and Bagabones. So a very exciting race, as we've come to expect, and yeah, the safety car kind of came out at the perfect time for some of those drivers to switch to the intermediates, and yeah, kind of neutralized the crossover point, but certainly the first safety car shaking things up, and always nice to bunch the field up, even if it doesn't shake up the strategy that much. But yeah, very exciting race. I imagine the standings, the final race results might change a little bit after some intervention from the stewards, but we will have to wait and see on that. But yeah, very good race. We will be back next week with Japan, I believe, so we'll be racing around Suzuka for round 18 on the downhill slope of the season, and the championship battle just going to be getting that much tighter and that much more entertaining in these final few races. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week.